Once during a college history lecture, I remember glancing up to see that the girl sitting in front of me was watching porn on her computer. After a moment of shock, I realized that it was not porn, just an incredibly explicit sex scene from Game of Thrones. But this got me thinking, if this person was watching porn in class, nobody would stand for it. It would be disgusting and a socially unacceptable thing to do. And yet, this scene from this show is not viewed as being pornographic despite full frontal nudity and explicit sexual acts taking place on screen. It's no secret that HBO has always been a little overeager to have their actresses bare all on camera. It's such a prevalent presence in their show that it almost seems like a requirement to get on their network. Making a TV show? Great, we'll air it so long as there's at least one female nude scene in every episode.
It's not porn, it's HBO.
The first season of Game of Thrones has over 15 minutes of nudity in it, a decent amount of which is devoted to scenes involving rape and prostitution. And this is an incredibly common theme amongst premium channels and subscription services. HBO, Showtime, Starz, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, pick a show on any of these services and most likely you will encounter a bare pair of breasts before you get too far into the first season. There seems to be this belief that graphic sex and nudity is required to create a prestige television show. And not just a little bit of sex and nudity, usually explicit, extended sequences that have no real distinction from softcore pornography. And I think this is a problem. Rather than having a tasteful sex scene that might have some artistic purpose to the overall narrative, shows on these networks aim to titillate their audiences into sticking around. HBO promises not only good television, but a nice side dish of free pornography for your time. Someone might get bored at all the exposition in Game of Thrones, but if you set the scene in a whorehouse, now you have some nice eye candy to get you through the boring bits. This is lazy and sexist. And I am not advocating for a return to the Hays Code, but very few actors or actresses seem to enjoy sex scenes.
How much do you talk about it ahead of time?
Well, you don't. I mean,
Right.
you can't. It's so uncomfortable. I'm not gonna be like, so, what do you think? Like, you know, are you gonna hump me once? Or are you gonna be on top? Like, you don't talk about it at all.
And I had a huge panic attack as we were shooting it, which has actually ended up in the show, because I had never felt so kind of dehumanized in a weird way. And I said to my boss, our showrunner, like, I really hope that scene is good. I really hope it's worth it because you're putting me through hell. Like, I had a huge panic attack. And he was like, yeah, it's good, don't worry.
I wasn't signing up to be an exploited porn star. I was signing up to play one.
I had a bottle of whiskey because you forget, like when you're shooting, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get hammered for the sex scene because it's stressful and scary. And then you forget, like, you know, you're at work, and so you're gonna be here for 8 hours.
Both male and female alike, it seems like a very uncomfortable experience for all parties involved. But most still do it as it feels like a necessary part of the creative process. There are many films and shows involving sex scenes where said scenes further the story and provide artistic merit. Schindler's List has a powerful and heartbreaking scene in which the female prisoners in a concentration camp are forced to run laps nude around the camp. It's gut-wrenching, and the film would lose a powerful moment without it. Or take, for example, a scene from Braveheart, which takes place on William Wallace's wedding night. It's a beautiful and romantic scene. But while the artistic merit of sex scenes and scenes of nudity can be debated, one thing that in my opinion cannot be debated is the mistreatment of actors and actresses while filming said sex scenes. As LA Times critic Mary McNamara puts it, for all their many functions, women's bodies are not props, and prostitution is not something that should be regularly relegated to atmosphere. Many of you might be rolling your eyes, calling me a prude or a killjoy, but am I the only one who finds it disturbing that in order to make it in film and television as a woman, it's basically a requirement to eventually bare all on screen?
We saw your boobs. We saw your boobs. In the movie that we saw your boobs. Meryl Streep, we saw your boobs in Silkwood. Naomi Watts in Mulholland Drive. Angelina Jolie, we saw your boobs in Gia. They made us feel excited and alive.
In a recent speech, actress Madeleine Carroll spoke about how she was unable to find roles due to her being uncomfortable filming sex scenes. Actor Jim Caviezel, a devout Catholic, has also spoken about how he's lost many roles due to his unwillingness to be naked in a scene with a woman who is not his wife due to his moral conscience. And in her expose on Harvey Weinstein, Selma Hayek said that Harvey forced her and the filmmakers on Frida to add an explicit love scene with full frontal nudity so he could quote-unquote have his fantasy. While none would ever condone Harvey Weinstein's actions, his sexual harassment and assault of women, nothing is stopping any producer or director from leveraging their power to put an actress in an uncomfortable situation. On the set of Blue is the Warmest Color, a film featuring a 10-minute-long lesbian sex scene, both young actresses expressed extreme discomfort with many of the actions that their director forced them to engage in, with Léa Seydoux saying that she felt like a prostitute. This same director went on to direct a new film, Mektoub, My Love, which features an even longer unsimulated sex scene, which again, the actors involved did not want to do, only complying after being, quote, plied with liquor. But these are not isolated incidents.
The word is that you wanted to leave. Is that true? Were you ready to leave the show?
I did want to leave, but I'm not allowed to talk about why.
You're not allowed to talk about why?
No.
Okay.
When you leave...
Well, Ruth, I'm like, well, wait a second, Ruth, because what I heard was it was a disagreement about money, male and female salaries.
I've never complained to Showtime about pay parity.
Okay, all right.
If you want evidence of this, watch your favorite prestige drama and notice how much nudity goes down after the first few seasons. Game of Thrones went from 15 minutes of nudity in the first season to next to none in the last. The same reduction in nudity and sex scenes occurred in Orange is the New Black and countless other shows. This is because many actresses gain more power as the show continues and can put new clauses in their contracts requiring less nude scenes. When they have the power to choose, they usually choose not to. This is wrong. Even if there are plenty of actors and actresses who have no issues with sex scenes, you should not be required to immortalize your body on screen for the world to see in order to have a career in the entertainment industry. Many critics of excessive female nudity in film and television have called for more male nudity to balance things out. No! How about we don't force anyone into a situation in which they are uncomfortable, male or female? Others suggest the implementation of intimacy coordinators to ensure everything on set remains comfortable and safe, and while this is a step in the right direction, I'd suggest an alternative. Just don't require full frontal nudity in explicit sex and rape scenes. Normalize an artistic culture where gratuitous sex and nudity isn't a requirement to make art. Because as with violence, sometimes what you don't show is just as effective as what you show. I've seen far too many shows and movies that feel the need to portray on-screen rape as a plot point. And while if I had it my way, rape would be very rarely used as a plot point in anything, the films and shows that I have seen that portray sexual assault in the most effective manner are the ones where we do not see the act, only the aftermath. Likewise, while a love scene like the one in Braveheart is romantic, the television cut of Braveheart cuts straight from the wedding to the next morning as they're getting dressed. We get the idea, and it's still very romantic. I saw the television cut of this film first without meaning to, and never knew I was missing anything. A love scene can be just as effective just hinting at what's about to go down without having to show every inch of flesh on screen. And let's be honest, not every movie in this sex-obsessed culture needs a sex scene. Actors and actresses who are not comfortable with these scenes should not be wanting for work this bad. And artists should similarly not be forced to compromise their dignity or morals to make something as trivial as a movie. It's wrong, and we can do better.